So a value chain, in the way that we think about it, is really about how goods and services are provided to a customer and how value accumulates along the series of events to getting to that end customer, so where value is added at each step.
A value chain is really the entire life cycle of a product, from its raw materials way upstream in the supply chain, all the way down through how it's used and then how it's disposed of.
The issue with traditional supply chain thinking is that we tend to focus on the financial angles and on material being provided to a customer. We don't think about those extra impacts that we have on different stakeholders who may be living near operations in the supply chain or may be working in the supply chain. With the value chain concept, we look at all of those stakeholders and the value that is being created for them or destroyed for them, and therefore expand our frame of reference.
So during the certificate, we look at value chains instead of supply chains, because if you look at the bigger picture and if you look at the problems from a more holistic point of view, you also have more opportunities within that system to actually unleash and unpack that business potential. So it makes more business sense to look at it from that point of view if you're addressing sustainability issues.
So for most companies, a lot of their impact, their sustainability impact will be upstream in their value chain or then downstream at the use phase of their customers or consumers using the products or services that they're providing. So if you look only at your own four walls or your own company, you're going to miss a lot of the value and the impact that you can have. So when companies look at their opportunities, it's really critical to look at your supply chain and then also at the downstream activities to get that full value. And that could be in terms of materials, but also social impacts. When you think about climate change and waste, water, and some of the subsets of that, all of those things can be really looked at from a full value chain perspective.
You're never a value chain just by yourself in your organization. You're always part of this system, and looking at sustainability from a value chain lens is actually an opportunity to identify those critical partnerships and collaborations that you need to actually drive change, not just within your organization, but also beyond your organization.
So I spent a number of years working in the automotive industry, where the primary value created was to make and sell cars and to sell more cars. When you look at the way the automotive industry has worked over the past 100 years, the making and selling of cars to individuals has provided mobility and wealth, but those cars are parked 95% of the time. Often they only have one or two passengers in it. So if you think about the value being created over mobility, it's a very inefficient way of doing that. And if we think about providing maybe mobility as a service and selling that, we can extract more value and profit from the system at a saving to the customer who's looking for transport primarily, using far fewer resources, and therefore we can take on these sustainability challenges of providing more services to a growing population, but with radically reduced impacts in the environment and on society.
So through our certificate program, we try to empower our participants to take this abstract sustainability challenge and convert it into actually really robust and actionable points that their company can take on board, and to accelerate that transition towards a sustainable future within their organization.
Value chains are complex for any business in any industry. So a key piece of advice is really to step back and try to reduce that complexity when you're thinking about your sustainability impacts.
Sustainability is a systems challenge, and it's important to look at the value chain approach as a way of addressing that complex and dynamic nature of the problems that we're trying to solve.